Welcome to the Platform video tutorial. Today we are going to talk about how to use our player service in the MPX console to easily create new video players. The player service has all the standard features offered in our player dev kit without the need for you to build your players through code or host it. Let's take a look at what the player service includes and some of the key benefits. The MPX player service is a console-based player designer. First and foremost, this service allows anyone to easily and quickly create players. You can choose from the 8 different layout templates, multiple skins, dozens of color schemes, and more within a matter of minutes. The inline preview feature allows you to view the player while you're building and changing it, which saves you the effort of going back and forth between the console and browser to ensure your player is right. You can see your changes real time. There are built-in color schemes, which you can copy and edit, and we provide the tools for you to create your own color schemes that you can apply to your players. We include a drop-down menu to show you all of the player plugins enabled in your account. To add a plugin, simply select from the list and configure the ones that you want your player to use. And lastly, you can quickly generate a player URL in our preview player. By clicking the Get Player button in the Media Preview player in the console, you can easily get the player in the form of a link URL, iframe code, or embed code. The player will first play back the specific media you're adding to it, then permit playback of related items from the player's feed. Other key benefits of this service are ad support, including mid-roll ads for HTML5 players. The ability to build a single player and use it everywhere. The service's built-in intelligence automatically detects the devices viewing your video and will deliver the appropriate format for that environment. And lastly, the players are hosted by the platform, so this saves you the time and effort of hosting them on your end. We like to think of this player service as a customized service with off-the-shelf convenience. Now let's take a look at how easy it is to create a player. We'll navigate to the Players view in the MPX console and select All Players. From here, I'll see the list of players I've created in my account, and I have the ability to add a new player or copy an existing player's settings. The copy is useful if the players in your account are all going to have the same look and feel and setup, aside from maybe the feed of content or the plugins added. I'll click Add to start a new player. I'll select a feed from the list of feeds defined in my account. The feed will provide the content, metadata, and images to power my player. After selecting the feed, I'm going to click the preview blade so that I can see the changes to my player in real time. The preview will show me exactly how my player will look to the consumer as I'm building it. The layout menu is where I can choose a layout for the player based on several different layout templates. They are listed in simple, video only, down to all components. I'll choose Grid with Info. Then I'll select my desired skin, and then choose a color scheme from the templates. The templates give you a nice preview of your current player displayed in that color scheme. We'll talk a little later on how you can create your own color scheme to add to this list. In the public ID field, I can choose an ID for the player or let the service generate one. This will be the URL an end user will use to access the player for playback. Moving to the next panel, Media Settings is where you can control the aspect ratio of the video or create a custom aspect ratio. Either way, the player smartly resizes the video to look how you intend it to look. Under the video sizing area are control rack features. Do you want the video to automatically start playback when the player loads, the next video to automatically play when the first one finishes, float the controls, show previous next, and show total time. Next, you can add an end card feed if you want end cards to appear when a clip ends. This would display additional information about a clip and related video. Or you can add an overlay logo. The next set of variables are all around full screen and sharing, allowing embeds, embed sharing, full screen on embeds, email and link sharing, etc. The Feed Settings panel is where you can configure a feed to include only media of selected formats, specific categories, or even a custom field value. Most of the time this is already done in the feed configuration, but if you want to further filter your feed in the player, you can. The Preferred Formats dropdown selects the media formats this player will try to play in order of preference from the source feed. The preferred format here is MPEG-4, then FLV. So when a viewer selects a video to play, this player will choose the first format that is supported by the client they're using. For example, if it was an iPad, then it would be the MPEG-4 content. The checkboxes below show options around displaying the content and metadata in your feed. In the layout settings, we can change the player size and how media is displayed, number of media and number of columns. You can resize thumbnails, enable search, add a header or background image. These are all variables that change your ad to the layout of your player. The advanced settings are where you can set a preferred runtime, or the priority in which the components will render themselves. When HTML5 has a higher priority than Flash, all components will be built in HTML where possible. Otherwise, they will render using Flash. This works in combination with the preferred formats field on the feed settings panel. In other words, the player will examine the operating environment and make every effort to use one of the preferred formats with the first item in the runtime list. It's the combination of the preferred runtime and preferred formats where we get the ability to create one player and use it everywhere. The public URL parameters will pin these parameters to the end of the public URL. The custom player link is where you can create a custom player link. The player click-through URL will make the entire video region a hyperlink that users can click to visit a related site. And the player control rack XML is where you can substitute your custom control rack for the default control rack. This is only available for Flash players. Custom player settings type any variable from the PDK user's guide. An example here could be setting the autoplay option to false. Now we can click Save and generate our player URL. Let's take the player URL and view our newly created player in a browser. This is the player we created in a matter of minutes, powered by a feed of content from the same account. It has all the components and variables, colors, and skins that we wanted. Now let's take a look at a few more ways we can further customize the look of this player, and we'll start with changing the color schemes. To create or modify the color schemes in the player, we'll navigate to the Colors view. Here we can see the list of schemes that are available when creating players. In this view, we also have the preview panel so we can immediately see our new colors, and we can choose to preview them on specific players. Let's go back and copy one of the existing schemes to use as a starting board. I'll copy the smoke scheme. Now the panels are enabled and I can make my modifications. You can choose to manage an overlay or background image here rather than the All Players view. This can make it easier to manage images that are designed to match a certain color set. I can choose a specific player for the preview. And lastly, I can control the order that this color will be presented to me. If I'd like this color first in the drop-down list for easy selection, I'll make the range less than 100. Player schemes can be as simple or as detailed as you want. By starting with the accent color, I can change or edit colors gradually and see how they look in the player. When I click on the accent color, I get the color box, and I can choose a color from the grid or type in the hexadecimal color code if I know it. The preview shows us the new accent color selected. Our help documentation on setting default colors shows each region affected by the color choices you make. This includes color choices for page background, component border, item border, etc. It will help you in determining what colors you would like to change. In the next three panels, you can set colors for components in a variety of player regions. The Media Overrides sets colors for such regions as the player background, player border, and the border of regions that end users mouse over, and the scrubber bar. The Metadata Overrides sets colors for metadata regions, such as video titles and descriptions. The Feed Override sets color for feed data, such as category lists, video item mouseovers, and the search region. The Advanced Settings is where you set custom color settings. You can set colors for any other Player Dev Kit component and property that you choose. You can see a complete list of Player Dev Kit components and properties in the PDK User's Guide. Once I'm satisfied, I can save my color scheme. I'll see it now in the list at the top. I can go to my Players view and I will see my new color scheme available and as the first choice. Now that we've finished with the colors, let's take a look at adding some plugins. The Plugins blade is where you'll find a list of plugins available, those developed by the platform and others built by our partners. Plugins for advertising, reporting, social media sites, authentication, and more. You can select and configure the ones you want your player to use. First, let's choose to run an ad with our media. I've already created a vast ad policy within my MPX account for a pre-roll and a mid-roll. The description will tell us what the plugin does, and now I can set the appropriate ad host and click Save. I can easily add a Twitter button to my player as long as it's a Flash-based player. Now we should be able to see ads playing with our content, as well as a Tweet This Video button in my preview player. Lastly, you can quickly generate a URL that displays a specific media in one of your MPX players. To do this, we'll use our media preview player. So we'll navigate to our media view, then we're going to select the media that we want to add to our player. You can get the player URL in the form of a direct link to the full player, or in an HTML iframe or embed tag that displays an embedded player. Once you have the link or HTML code for your player, you can use it to display your player in a browser or an HTML page. For more information on how to display players created in MPX to your audience, please see our documentation in our Technical Resource Center for great examples. Creating players using the MPX Player Service is a quick and easy way to build great-looking players. You get all the flexibility of our Player Dev Kit, including the most recent releases, and an easy-to-use console interface. To get started using the Players view, the Player feature must be enabled in your account, so please contact your account manager for more information. This concludes our video on creating players using our MPX Player Service. Thank you for watching.